Hi, and good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Friday, the 16th of January, and today I'm working in the back garden. I'm talking quietly because it's still very early in the morning. Been having rather busy, stressful time, and I just need to get up and get moving and do something to keep me busy in order that I can have a better sleep because sleep hasn't been good at the moment. So today we're going to be setting up our second in the self-watering systems, but I'm going to be doing it slightly different to the last one because I'm actually thinking in my head and I'm thinking this system might work a little bit better in terms of simplifying my watering of it. Right, let me get on and I'll explain as I go along. To start, I need to show you what it is I'm going to be using. So I got this corrugated drainage pipe and this is what I'm going to be using. But first I need to measure it before I can actually work out how much I need. So let's go outside and do that. So what we're doing is I need to measure this in order to make sure that I get enough piping to go all the way around the bottom of the self-watering system. That will not only fill the reservoir, but also hold water for the reservoir. So you don't need a lot. You just need enough to go around, probably like this twice. And then the aim is to have a bit of the pipe hanging out so that it can actually be your point at which you do your watering. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to put holes in it on the bottom end of it in order to ensure that those holes will actually leak the water into the base. I'll show you that the base is similar to what I did before, and it is holding water, and the overflow point is not that high, which is good because you want the water to still be able to overflow out when it gets to a certain level, so you don't end up waterlogged. This coco coir is here because it's going to be used in the base to be part of the absorption system. That helps to wick the water up. So let me get a knife and cut it here so I can then go and make the holes I need. I've done my pipe cutting, took a while, a lot longer. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this in here, checking to see which way the pipe is cut so that I can actually make sure that that's the side that is facing downwards within the reservoir section. So that's layer one done. The next stage I'm doing is to fill these with some coco coir in order that when they sit in, they'll be able to absorb the water and pull it up to the plants. Trays, which are upended the other way, are there to ensure that when water goes in, it actually those are going to be the reservoirs that will actually fill with water when the reservoir is full, and then as the water goes down, it comes from underneath this, and it works really well. I've done it in small pots before and it works fantastically. So this will be the same process. And then when you set your weed membrane that sits on top of this on here, these are the ones that will pull the water up and wick it up to the bed as a whole. We have another one this side as well, similar one. I was going to get rid of these because they don't work well for me. So this is a better way of actually utilizing them and using them to ensure that you get what you need in terms of wicking. The other thing I'm going to do is I'll show you when I put the weed membrane on. So let's move this coco coir out of the way so I can get the weed membrane on. And when the weed membrane is on, I'll show you exactly how I'm going to use the coco coir to aid with the wicking of the water up to the bed. Bought this massive roll of weed membrane and I love it. Cost a bit, but it's going to last and give me a lot of material to work with in the garden. It's nice to be able to work without worrying about running out of material. Sometimes when you buy the smaller pieces, you end up paying more for a little bit and then consistently keep buying. You kidding me? Something pooped in my garden. I'm so grateful that I haven't stepped in it, but I need to move it before I can carry on. All right, let's do this. We're going to have food in here. Food and flowers is the plan. There we go. And then we get this on. Now I've made it bigger and longer than what I need because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to tuck it a little bit into the sides of this to ensure that it can suck up some water by itself as well. Yeah, I'm tucking it into the corners and the sides so that it can pull the water from the corners, allowing for wicking from the membrane itself as well. And then I'm going to tuck soil all the way through so that it sits, and the cocoa curd is going to sit on these edges. Now I've extended it, and I'll cut off the extra after I finish filling the bed. I'm going to just put it in. I did what Ali from my Rusty Garden does, is I actually just let it sit out in the rain, and it was slowly broken down by absorption of the rainwater, which is nice. So that will work very nicely for me. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit it in these corners, which I want to be soaking up the water. So that's one. What you hear is the water leaking out where it goes above the wicking membrane itself. Oh no, I have to make sure that this is filled up properly so that it's not leaking out before it hits. Yeah, that's better now. Before it was actually leaking out because within the pond liner was a little bit folded in on itself. So what you have to do is, if you haven't seen my other video where I showed how I used the pond liner to make a slightly waterproof area where I can have a water reservoir, then that is a video that you can watch. I'll try and remember to link it in this video so you can go and check it out. Let's check and make sure. I'm just checking my pond liner all the way around to make sure that it is working as it should. Because once this is in place, it's not so easy to then take all the soil out and redo things. So you want to make sure that things are as they should be. Now, what I'm doing is I'm putting a little bit of this cocoa coir all around the edge, in the corners and in the rims there, where it's sitting against the water reservoir in the bottom. So what will happen is, when the water goes in, it will actually sit underneath these containers which are in place. But I made sure that I didn't make the containers too big because I still want good depth to here for my growing. And then we'll go from there and see how we go. But I think this will work really well as well. So we can test it out for a season, and at the worst, we can always redo it at the end of the growing season. But I think it will be a great experiment to see which of these two wicking systems works better. And I wasn't going to record this, and then I thought, if I don't record it, I won't remember how I set it up, because I have one I set up in the front and I can't for the life of me remember how I did it. So hopefully you've been able to see that, because I'm realizing that this is in the way. No, but you can see, yeah. So now what I need to do is I need to start filling it up with soil, and then I'm going to transplant some bits into it. Do you know what I've just realized? I need to actually move it to the back before I fill it. So let me do that now. That was hard. That was really hard. going to, hopefully you can see, what I do is I'll just put it into here. So this is how we fill it up, through this pipe which goes right down into the bed. So I'm refilling the reservoir with the assumption that what I already put in has been absorbed, because the compost itself is quite dry. The manure was wet, but the compost is dry. So I'm just going to refill it until I hear it start to pour out. And I had to level the legs underneath because it wasn't quite level. And what I've put in here is I've put in some snapdragons, and then my peppermint chard, which has been sitting in a hydroponic system all winter, and I thought it would die, and it hasn't. So it's moved into this bed. I put in the first of my red sun. I looked where I'm keeping my onions, and I realized that I've got a lot of red sun. And we've obviously put in our in-bed composting, as we do with all our beds, because when you put stuff in there, it will break down really quickly, and then it will feed the beds and the worms that are already in here. I've used the little bit of horse straw I've got left, and I need to buy more. And then I've also used shredded cardboard for mulching. I've never actually used shredded cardboard for mulching. This is the first time, but I'm hoping that it will actually work. So this is an experiment for me, but I know that it is an option for mulching. And what I'm going to do is, once I've actually finished that, I'll cut the excess weed membrane off, and the bed is done. I'm so glad I did this. It's taken me out of the house for a bit of fresh air, and wow, it's taking a long time to fill up. It's still not overflowing, so obviously it needed it, because the top is quite dry, and because I put some garlic in. I saw a garlic that was sprouting as well, so that has gone in as well. So I need to just keep going. It makes you wonder whether the water is going in, but it is going in, because it has to fill the pipe and then overflow the pipe, and then start to overflow out of the bed. And so this is my other method for creating a self-wicking system. I'm always thinking of ways to simplify my life and to simplify my gardening, in order that once a bed is set up, it is self-caring to a certain extent. That's why we want to give it water, we want to give it food. And that's why you saw that in the base I put some manure in the bottom, out of the way, so that because the compost will have enough feed, and as the roots hit the manure, then they will hit that food as well. But for today, you'll leave me here carrying on, and you have a good one.